Hello there, Riderflex Nation. Steve Urban here with more career advice and job interviewing tips for you. And as a quick reminder, if you enjoy our podcast, please remember to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes. And on today's podcast, my top 10 pieces of advice for first-time CEOs or anybody running a company or being the captain for the first time, whether your title is owner or managing partner or whatever. First time you've ever been in charge, here's my top 10 pieces of advice. Number 1, surround yourself with people smarter than you, specifically board members or advisory board members or mentors, okay? And constantly go to them for advice and input. Number 2, always be asking questions. All the time, you're asking questions, especially around your team, okay, or in the office. The more questions you ask, give you the ability to gather the right information and the right input to make better decisions. Number 3, involve your team in the decision-making process, okay? Make sure they feel like they're part of it, and then you're making the decision as a leadership team. Number 4, listen more and talk less, okay? Which ties right into number 5. Stop selling yourself, okay? You're already there. You don't need to go around talking all the time to convince people how smart you are or how much you know about the product, okay? Your selling days are over. You're already the CEO. You're in the chair, okay? Talk less, listen more. Number 6, don't worry about the after, okay? What happens after I'm no longer CEO, right? If you've done your research, you know the average CEO for companies usually lasts 3 to 4 years. So the chances of you being CEO forever are slim. So what happens is when you become a CEO for the first time, you start thinking about, well, what am I going to do next? What happens after this? Well, I can tell you the key is to make sure that you don't focus on that. Don't worry about that. Just be focused on the now. Stay in the present and focus on what you're doing and the company that you're involved with. Don't worry about what happens next in your life. Okay, number 7, they're watching you. Your people, your team, they're all watching your every movement. Be aware of that, okay? They see who you take to lunch. They're watching what time you come into the office and what time you leave. Every single thing you're doing as the CEO is being dissected and talked about in the cafeteria. So just remember, everything you're doing is being monitored. Number 8, hire the right people. If you don't surround yourself with quality people, you're never going to make it. You can't do it all by yourself, okay? Who you hire and who you surround yourself with is so critical. Number 9, make decisions and be decisive. Don't run a company as a CEO that gets bogged down in overanalysis or, you can't make a decision because communication is messy within the organization. Make decisions, take action, move forward. Number 10, speaking of communication, number 10 is keep your finger on the pulse of the communication in the company. I see this all the time. Anytime, if you visit with enough candidates, you visit with enough professionals, the number 1 complaint about companies usually is the communication. Departments aren't on the same page. The CEO doesn't communicate properly. Things are just messy, often just messy, and that messiness goes right back to communication. So do yourself a favor. As the CEO, make sure you have your finger on the pulse of how communication flows throughout the company. Okay, whether it's newsletters, whether it's how often supervisors are doing touch bases with their team members, etc. Keep your finger on the pulse of communication. Okay, and then finally, those are my top 10. But one last point that I want to make is this: try to enjoy the moment, as stressful as it is. And by the way, for those of you that have never been a CEO, you don't fully understand the amount of stress and pressure that's involved with being responsible for, 100 people or 1,000 people or 10,000 people. It's super stressful. So I just want to encourage CEOs to just try to enjoy the moment. Try to enjoy being CEO while you're there, because the reality is it won't last forever. And there is my Riderflex tip of the day. We truly hope you find our material helpful and entertaining. And in the spirit of giving back, Riderflex donates half of all proceeds gained from this podcast to the Volunteers of America and their efforts to support veterans with employment services. While our podcast can be heard across most platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and SoundCloud, you can become a supporter of this podcast by visiting our show on the platform Anchor FM. That's anchor.fm/Riderflex. You can send us your questions or suggested topics for future episodes to the email address podcast@riderflex.com, or drop us a voicemail at 888-964-5876, extension 710. Visit riderflex.com to learn more about us. Thanks so much for listening, folks, and have a great day.